What's up? What's up? Welcome to the Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Coach A. I'll be guiding you today. We're talking about divorce. I know it's a touchy subject. Is it really cheaper to keep her? You know, one of the it needs to be talked about. It really do. We know that it happens. I don't want to go through all the boring statistics. I hope how y'all doing before we even get into all that. How y'all doing today? You know what I'm saying? If you stop by, go ahead and leave a message, leave a comment. Let me know how your day was. Hopefully everybody had a great Thursday. Seems like the days is going by so fast. I mean, it was just January and already the year is halfway gone. Like already the year is halfway there. Like it's crazy how fast the time just keeps flying and flying and flying. So hopefully you had a good Thursday and the beginning of the year, everything is starting to open up a little more wherever you are. We had been dealing with COVID for a while. So hopefully everything is opening up wherever you are. It's starting to open up here. Some of the people not even wearing too many masks, people getting vaccinated. So starting to get some normal, starting to get back to normal slowly but surely, for sure. So, but today's topic, we're talking about divorce. Is it cheaper to keep her? That's the saying. I wonder if that was a song. I don't know, but I know that's always been the saying that I've heard a while ago. Is cheaper to keep her, going over the effects of, how much it costs. Like whenever you get a divorce, you have to, pay a lot of money. Either, somebody got to pay alimony or somebody have to pay child support, all the different expenses and stuff when it comes to getting divorced. So, a lot of the old heads always say, young man, it's cheaper to keep her. Just to let you know, it's cheaper to keep her. So, but financial wise, when you talk about money, it can be costly for sure, but the cost is a lot greater. Divorce has a cost that's a lot greater than just, financial, than just dollars, and that's what we want to get into today, to the true cost, not just the financial side, but the emotional side and the spiritual side. Those are the real expenses that come out of divorce. And a lot of people don't realize that, that it costs that, especially amongst the kids and themselves. Sometimes we hide it, because we look good or we having fun or, doing whatever it is we're doing. But however, it has an impact on you. It truly has. Anybody that's ever been through a divorce or separation, they might be denying that it has an impact, but it truly has. It had an impact. So, what makes me qualified to talk about this? Well, I mean, just to let you know, in the past, I've been through a divorce. So yeah, I was married for 10 years and ended up getting a divorce. And it wasn't a nasty, divorce, like that where we was arguing all the time. In fact, we never argued in front of our kids, and we actually didn't argue a lot. So, me and my ex, shout out to my ex-wife. I don't, she ain't give me permission to say her name, so I ain't gonna say it, but most people know me, know her. But anyhow, we had a good friendship, but we didn't, it wasn't like that. We just, I guess, got a little selfish, not to get into any details. We just got a little selfish on both parts. It wasn't no one person's fault. Like one person went out and cheated or another person went out and did that. It didn't even happen like that. We just kind of, started doing things on our own. And I guess we just wanted our freedom back, which is the wrong thing to do because it came at the expense of our kids. And so we even, sat our kids down. I remember they was all young. The oldest was Bevan. She was in middle school, and might have been even, yeah, middle school or high school. I don't even remember. But we all sat him down and said that, daddy was going to be moving, and, we end up splitting up. And so strangely enough, the kids got excited. I mean, they was just like, "Oh, wow, when can we see daddy's new apartment? And, when can we see this? When we going to go visit?" And, it's like they had been used to it. They had told us that, they had friends. Well, a couple of them said they friends in high school or middle school had two different dads or two different moms. And at that young age, they were just excited about it. It was kind of weird. We was expecting a different reaction, but anyhow, that's how they reacted. And so, of course, thinking back at the time, thinking back from now into retrospect, we really put them through a lot just doing that, because, our kids was used to us being together, just used to us being there and having a stable home. And so I always explain, uh, a home, a stable home like this, if you line kids up for a race, and let's say you have them all on tricycles, right? And you line 4 or 5 kids up, and half of the kids, if you take one of the wheels off where they only working with two, and then the other half you leave on the tricycle, they they're not going to have the same amount of opportunity to make it to the end, meaning they won't be as successful. The kids that have all 3 tires on their tricycle will make it. Definitely. They have a better chance. Let me say that they have a better chance of making it. But the other kids that only have 2 wheels and they're missing one, it's not to say that they won't be successful, but they just don't have as good a chance. They don't have as good a chance of making it. And so that's the importance of that family structure, is making sure that the kids have a strong foundation. They have each will in place so that they can be successful. And so that's one of the things we have to realize when it comes to, divorce and separation, is that it handicaps the kid emotionally and kind of makes them unstable, with their emotions and sometimes their confidence. There's just a lot of things that they deal with, as far as trust issues. A lot of kids that's been through divorce or separation. Separation is just as bad. Is no difference. Divorce is just the actual paper that, you just go to the court and write. But, separation is the same. It's the same. And so they deal with a lot of issues, trust issues, not knowing how to, trust other people, or personality development issues. Some kids might have a lot of anger issues, or, they might go into depressed state. They might start getting in trouble. It's also, kids become promiscuous. A lot of girls at times, or even boys at times, they become promiscuous. And so just in looking back from the experience that I had, I can see, that it's not just the kids, that, it was affect us all around, like, for instance, the when you go through a divorce, sometimes the dad and the kids don't have as strong a relationship as it could have been. Obviously we can do the best we can to be in our kids' life and to build that strong bond and that strong relationship. But it's not it's not always the case, because mentally, the kids, sometimes they feel like they have to choose between parents, and they don't even know that they choose, and they could sense that, maybe their mom is, upset or sad, or just the fact that there's 2 different households. They feel like they have to choose because they don't want to leave their mom by themselves, or they don't want to feel like they're choosing another parent. So it's just a lot of emotional stuff that goes on that we don't understand. And it happen, and even adults, it affects us all the way up throughout our adulthood, and then 25, 30, 40 years later, after these events, it's still affecting us. Even, we never developed the right type of confidence or the right type of courage to do things. So it's a huge impact. So it's very expensive emotionally. I can remember just in my own life that, once I started, trying to date again or go out, you know, meet people, and sometimes you would meet their family or whatnot. And so, and if you don't, bring that, if you don't make that relationship permanent, then it becomes an issue as well. So you start damaging other people's emotions. There's, other kids and, other family members that, you thought that you was going to be involved in and ended up, not. And so you end up doing the process again. So it became, almost like a habit where, you could just jump in a relationship and, whenever this going good. And then if it's not, then you can just jump out. And I feel like that's the biggest issue that we get from divorce and separation, is that we pass these things on to our kids. We pass it on to our friends. We don't, because we've experienced it or we've seen it or whatever the case may be, we're highly likely to do the same thing. We're highly likely to do the same thing. And so, even if you had the two best parents, even if you had the two best parents and, they're doing their best to be positive, running two households, it's just a strain. It's just a real strain. So it's not nothing to be looked at lightly at all. It has a huge impact. And it's part of just think about it, it's part of our nation's problem, because we have a huge fatherless, problem that we have. And a lot of that is coming from, separation or divorce, parents being together and then, of course, splitting up. And so whenever you have two parents split up, then it becomes, the emotion split. Sometimes you can't, like in one household, they might be a lot more strict, and then another household, they're not. So kids become confused or, stuff like that. So it's very important to, to really think about this. So, there's always, counseling and different stuff like that. Obviously, if you, in a abusive relationship or, things of that nature, then, you first have to do what's best for yourself. That's for sure. You have to do what's best for yourself, make sure you're safe and the kids are safe. But speaking about divorce, personally, I have the opinion that it's worse than death. You know, it's worse. Shout out to my daughter, Bevan. She just sent me a message. What's up, Bev? So, you know, Bev has been like, she don't know, but she helped me a lot through the whole process because, she played basketball. I played basketball. So I was able to go to her games and, just had continue that bond that we had before. So, but it affects the kids. Some of the, and we think that kids are strong or they will adapt, but it seems like that, but they're not. Kids are not as strong as we think they are. They just, their emotions show differently. Sometimes a divorce or separation might not show in that kid's life until 5 or 6 years later. It could be 10 years later. So all along you figured, or you thought that the child was okay and they was doing fine, but in actuality, they not. In actuality, they still struggling. Excuse me, I got to get my screen right a little bit. All right, it's going to have to work. So they can be struggling, could be in school, could be emotionally, there's a lot of things that transpire. Like, kids can, 10, 12 years from now, they can have a different look on the past. Like they could see that maybe because they know their parents got divorced, they figure it had to be some type of problem. And so they'll want to blame somebody. Maybe it's the dad or maybe it's the mom, and they really don't know what's going on. So a lot of that stuff can be an issue too. So it's a lot when it comes to divorce and separation is more than just money and paying child support or alimony or, two households or whatever that situation is. The emotional strain is the biggest thing too. We know that, and I don't want to bore you with a bunch of statistics, but I learned some statistics. They talked about the divorce rate is over 50%. It used to be like 60%, but they say it's going down. And so I wonder if it's going down because people are staying together or people are just not getting married. Maybe they're just living with each other and then deciding to separate on your own, which is the same thing. Again, I stress that just because you staying with somebody and you didn't get that paperwork and you didn't, go see the preacher and got married, if you living in a household with a kid and with a child and you stay there for a long time, especially if it's your own, and then now you go and get a different house, it's going to have an impact. Definitely is going to have an impact, and it's not to be taken lightly. Sometimes people take it lightly because they didn't get actually married, like, oh, since we didn't actually get married, or we didn't go through that it's a lot better, or it's a lot easier. But it's actually not. It has the same impact. It has the same emotional strain that you can have as if you had got married. The only difference is it might be cheaper because you don't have to have attorneys and lawyers and stuff like that. So it's a huge problem. People that's in relationships now, you have to find a way, and some techniques, of course. I always talk about how you can have a plan to bring your mind and your life back to peace. That's very important that you have that. Find a way to bring your life back to a peaceful, harmonized state. If you don't have a plan in place, then it's easy for you to drift along, and then you can do what people say, they call it, we growing apart, like we grew apart. But in actuality, you've just you picked up a different habit, meaning you developed a habit and a different lifestyle, and you become hardened to that other person where you don't care if you're together or not. And that's the start. Each argument or disagreement is the beginning of that. Believe it or not, it's the beginning of that. Whenever you have a serious argument or a disagreement to the point where you can feel it emotionally, that's the beginning of your separation. And so you have to have a plan in place to make sure you get rid of that feeling or you get rid of that thinking so that it doesn't take root. Because all these thoughts in our head, they're trying to take root so they could grow into actions. And so the only way you prevent thoughts from growing into actions is by same thing you would do with weeds and stuff. You would just uproot it. You would just pull it out. You would get rid of it, replace it with a good plant, replace it with a good seed. In other words, replace it with a good thought. And you have to do this on a continual basis, on a daily basis. Sometimes you have to do it 2 and 3 times out the day. You can't have a whole lot of pride. You can't do that. You have to make sure that you have a plan in place for that. I feel like a lot of times in the beginning, people get married for personal reasons. Let's say you met somebody and, you like them, you into them, and you've been dating them for a while. And so now, you're happy with this relationship. A lot of times people don't really understand how to make a marriage work, how to make a family work. I didn't at the time. I didn't. I thought I did, but I was trapped. I was tricked into, being selfish. Actually, it was just more so selfish. I didn't know how to deal with my own personal emotions and my own personal thoughts, like I do now. But it's very important that you know how to deal with those thoughts, because you will get upset, you will get angry, or you will get upset, and you will feel like, oh man, did I make the right decision? But that doesn't mean that you didn't make the right decision. That just means that's just your feeling at the present time. And so what you need to do is, if you feel some type of way, remember, get back to your peace and your harmony. You got to make that peace and harmony priority in your house and in your life. And I guarantee you, all your relationships will be good. if you learn how to do that. And it takes self-control, and you have to want it. A lot of people just want that smoke. As the young people say, they want that smoke. A lot of people, they have this chip on their shoulder. They want to argue with everybody. They want to fight with everybody. Nobody's going to disrespect me. Nobody's going to do this. And nobody's humble. And so if you can't, that same attitude will tear you apart, because it'll be entrenched. It'll be deep inside your mind and inside your heart. And so you begin to drift away. Argument after argument, you'll keep remembering these things, which is another good point, is learning how to forgive. Forgiveness is key, to avoid these situations. Because again, if you carry these things from day to day, weeks to weeks, and months to months, they're going to build up. They're going to build up, and then you're going to explode, or you're just going to get to the point where, again, you don't care if you're in the relationship or not. And so that's why it's important that, again, you have these plan in place for harmony and peace and forgiveness as well. Very important. But like I was mentioning before, a lot of people get in relationships for personal reasons. So what is the purpose of a marriage? I feel like a lot of people have a different view, some different views. Some people they get married for themselves, for their own happiness. And I had to learn that marriage is not for your happiness. It's not for our personal happiness. No, the full purpose of marriage, and it goes all the way back to the Bible, is for family structure, for the kids, to make sure that the next generation are strong, the next generation are confident, and you have a better opportunity when you have the family structure, when you have the father, the mother, and the kids, and so that's the main purpose since the beginning, since the invention of marriage. Since the invention of marriage, the main structure is so that the kids are very strong emotionally and physically. A lot of people don't understand that. And so when you understand that, then when you use your time to go back to your peace and your harmony, you understand the importance of that. You understand that if I add forgiveness and I bring peace back into my house, that we're all going to benefit. My kids is going to benefit. My kids is going to benefit, because whatever it is we do, we pass it on to our kids. We pass it on to our kids indirectly. A lot of people think just because their kids is okay, or they're not acting out, that they're fine. But in actuality, we're pass these things on to our kids. Just look at the statistics. The statistics show that because the divorce rate is so high, is because of that. It's because we become numb to it. We don't really understand the effects. We be a lot of selfishness, and so we have to really take that in consideration. And so just going through some of the negative impacts it has, on the kids. We talked about, kids developing trust issues, not being able to, trust other people, or, sometimes trusting their parents, not knowing if their parent is going to be there, or, stuff like that. And then of course, personality development issues, they low confidence, anger issues, some of them get promiscuous, shy, stuff like that. And so because of that, they end up having problems, several problems. It also lead to depression. Some kids could end up going into a depressive state where, they just withdrawn. They become withdrawn, and, you have to just really take all these things in consideration, when it comes to you making this decision. Because I feel like a lot of times there's a lot of relationships that can be saved. Your relationship can probably be saved if you're just not as selfish. A lot of times people are just so selfish. They want things one way, or they want things a specific way, or they don't know how to be humble. They don't know how to humble themselves. They don't know how to forgive. They keep holding on to past incidents or stuff that happened to them in the past. And so a lot of these things drive us to separation, and we don't even know it. We don't even realize that it's there. So, kids also can become manipulative. When you have two separate households, just imagine two separate households, kids can, become manipulative. They don't, if they can't get away with something in one household, they might call or try to, get away with it in another house, talk to their people, talk to their dad. If my mom ain't gonna give it to me, I'll talk to my dad to do it for sure, or vice versa. And so they can become very manipulative. They might start off, as, sad or angry, or whatever the situation is, but sometimes they'll use it to their advantage. They'll definitely use it to their advantage. What's up, Jimmy? Drop your email, Jimmy, if you want to get in, man. I know you got something to say. Just looking at the statistics again, and I'm gonna get to some more of these things. I was just thinking, like, out of my group of friends that I know, probably like two, three. I know at least three or four that's been through divorce or separation for sure. And it's not nothing to take lightly. So that is definitely something that hits home for sure. Looking at my homie Jimmy. Okay. That's my brother Jimmy. So anyhow, interact, we talked about some of the issues that they have with kids. We last talked about manipulation, some of the kids. And sometimes they don't, kids is kids. They don't mean to be manipulative or whatever. They just want what they want. They're trying to get their own way. And so they play parents both ways. And I believe it's hard for kids to process two separate households at times. And so they can be drawn, in our situation, I was probably a lot more strict. So, my girls was drawn to their mom, or it was just an awkward situation. Your mom, you're comfortable, with your mom and being around your mom, and, being girls, and, their mom is a girl. It's just different for dad sometimes, and so that was the case that, I felt like we could have been a lot stronger. We should be, a lot closer, but because of that, that whole divorce and separation, that, we just kind of drifted in that. Now, of course I love my girls and they love me, but, it's just obvious that, when your life becomes busy, you went on to school and to college and stuff like that, and you have to juggle between two homes. Sometimes one of the homes get neglected, at times. And so sometimes it was mine. So, but that's just how it is. So some of these things you just have to take in consideration. I feel like a lot of people don't take these things in consideration before they just jump into a marriage, or get with somebody, or before they just jump out, and decide I'm going to go. Like I said, again, if different, dealing with abuse, or stuff like that, betrayal, things of that nature, then that's different. But aside from just and nobody can tell you how to run your relationship. Nobody can tell you when to leave or when to stay. There's always a certain amount of pressure that we get from our friends and the peers, and, in the media and just different places. There's always, but the bottom line is you are your own individual. And so if you believe you can make it work, then you can make it work. That's the bottom line, especially if everybody is safe, the kids is safe and everything is good, then, you don't have to be the person to leave or whatnot. I know of a couple that I just got some great news, that a couple reconciled. They had went to the court, and they did everything. They processed the paperwork and for the divorce, and it was it. It was it. And, and I had, talked and been encouraging to both of them, but nonetheless, they had, said it was it. It was done. And so, and I just, heard from one of them today, and they said that they came back together, and they said that God brought them back together. God changed their hearts, and they end up, reconciling, and now they're going through, some steps to make their relationship better as far as counseling and stuff like that. And I feel like that's a huge, huge, huge point, is having a good foundation, having a foundation wrapped around the creator of marriage, who created marriage in the beginning, but our creator, God. And I feel like if you don't have a foundation with God in your life, then who's gonna have the final say? So you have one individual, 25, 30 years, they've been doing things one way, and you have another person, 25, 30 years, they've been doing things their way. Whose way is right? How are you going to bring these two people together if you don't have one common ground? And I feel like the Bible and God is that common ground. If you can just find a way to bring yourself to submit to God and what he says, then your relationship will be a lot better, because it's not you making that final decision, but y'all have a plan to come to that word, to God's word, and agree. And that, I guarantee you, that'll help, because sometimes I have to check myself if I feel one way, or my wife feels another way. But biblical wise, the Bible says this, and sometimes she could be right, or sometimes I can be right. But I feel like if you submit to the word, if you submit, then you'll definitely have a better chance of surviving. So, and being humble. And if you do it the right way, you'll have a beautiful relationship. But it's just unfortunate that the divorce rate in the church is just as high, meaning, Christians or non-Christians, or, that divorce rate is just as high. Jimmy Strong says, what Jimmy say? I pray for my daughters all the time for the things their mom and I don't see eye to eye on, because they are being taught different things. Yeah. And that is a huge impact on the kids when you have two parents that don't see eye to eye, and it can be very stressful on the kids. And kids pick up on those things. Believe it or not, they pick up on those things. Even if you don't talk to them about it, they can sense these things, because we all, put out energy, and energy is something that can be matched to other people's energy. You can pick up somebody's energy. You can know when somebody's upset, or when somebody's sad or depressed or whatnot. And the reason and without them saying a thing, just by the way they're acting and some of their gestures, and the reason you can pick up on that is because they're emitting some energy, and that's what you picked up on. And so kids, as young as they are, at any age, they can pick up on the same thing. So they can pick up when their their mommy is mad at their dad, or dad is mad at mom, or whatever the situation is. And so communication between two parents is key. Okay, you separated, you divorced, whatever the situation is. Now, what do? You have to communicate. You can't talk bad about the other parent, especially to the kids. If you have something bad or something negative to say, you should do it away from the kids, because it's detrimental. Some parents think that if they get the kids on their side, it makes them feel better, or make them, but it doesn't. It just makes matters a lot worse. The kids don't know how to process the difference between the two, and so they become, they can act out in different ways, or they can come against another parent, and something that you're feeling right now could be temporary, but however, you might feel different 2 days, later, or 24 hours later, or whatever the situation is. You might feel different after you done thought or slept or prayed, or whatever the situation is about that situation. But kids might not process it like that. They might still be mad. they might still be upset. That might be something that changed the course of their, thinking, or the course of their life just from that. So make sure you keep your arguments, your disagreements, everything separate. You know, we never argued in front of our kids. We always, we had little, spats like that, but it was, like I said, it was never around the kid when the kids was around. So that's one of the things. And even with that, it still had an impact on our kids. Even we did the best we could as far as not arguing in front of the kids. I mean, we have, me and my ex, we have a great communicative relationship and all that. But even through all those, through all those stages, it still had a huge impact on the kids, from anything from, just confidence level to, you know confused as far as, what you want to accomplish in life and what you want to do, and, all these things. And it's just, affects the kids, so you have to keep that in consideration. So appreciate you putting that up, Jimbo. What else he say? Yep, that's right. You got to definitely teach them what the words say, brother. So, moving along with some of the impact, loneliness. Some kids feel loneliness, which is, kind of strange, but it happens because, they don't relate to what, maybe their one of the parent is going through at the time, so they just kind of keep to themselves. They're trying to process this. They're trying to process this new environment, and it also becomes scary as well. They don't know if, do we have to move? Do I got to move away from my friends? Are we going to be poor now? Are we going to lose the house? All these things are going through a kid's head, and they will never tell you. You will never hear them say it. They'll never mention it to you. You're just, far as you're concerned, the kids is fine. I think they're doing good. We just out. I would just, my dumb behind. I was like, hey, it's time to. I'm back on the market now. What's up? I can party. I can hang out now. And instead of really, and a lot of that is ignorance. I didn't understand the impact, but that's what I was thinking. Like, now I can get back out and start dating and, meeting new people and stuff like that. No more ball and chain, is what people say. And so it's just a big mess, just a big mess when it came to the emotional state of the kids. Even, some of the kids, when they look back at the whole family situation, they don't even recognize some of the good. The only thing they can recognize is the bad things that happen because of that. So you never know how these things can forge an impression inside your heart, or inside the heart of a child. Just like we think about, everybody know where they are when, when the buildings, when the planes crash into the buildings, and, we got that information. A lot of people, or when, when we heard, that, a parent died or somebody died. Whenever we have some type of tragedy, or some a tragic event happen, a lot of times, that whatever's going on, you could be listening to a song, or, you can be at a certain restaurant, or wherever you are, and that stuff can be forged into your heart, where it never leaves, and it has a huge impact. So every time you see that restaurant, or you hear that song, it'll remind you of that thing that you heard, or that hurt that you experienced. And so a lot of times with kids, during that time, that separation can forge something inside their heart, where, whenever they think back, they don't even remember the good times. All they remember is negative stuff. And so it's just a huge mess that happens. And then, of course, sometimes kids, they blame. They wonder if they're the reason. Is it my fault that my parents divorce or separating? Was it something I could have been a better kid, or was it something I did wrong or something I didn't do? And so, again, a lot of that is communicating. Just showing it constantly. A lot of that can be dealt with through communicating. You know, showing the kids love, letting them know that they are loved and that it's not their fault, and that mommy and daddy is just, they're not getting along. And so, it's just, this is our new life living in, daddy loves you even though he's not here. Be positive on your end. Negativity never helps no situation. It takes away the hope, it takes away the love, it takes away the joy, the peace out of negativity. That's why we should always focus on the positive, focus on what we want to happen or what's going to happen. And so again, whenever you have two separate homes, make sure that you're not arguing with the kids, about the other person. A lot of times, what other problems happen? Parents try to use the kids to get back to others, to get back to the other parent. Like, some moms keep their kid away from the fathers. Like, you can't see him, because I'm mad at you. And, you can't, this is, all these things is affecting the child as much as you want them to have an impact on the actual uh, father or mother. It doesn't. Not like you think. It has a huge impact on the child when you begin to play both ways like that. When you keep a child from seeing their mom or seeing their parent, it has a huge impact. And some of these issues, trust, personality, depression, manipulative, loneliness, all these things begin to take root inside of a child, and you never know which one is going to actually, surface, which behavior is going to come from which one. But all these things, depression, stress, sickness, all these things is stirred up into that negative behavior. So you got to always make sure that you have positive interactions, and you allowing the parent to see. Don't use them as this is your opportunity to get back at him. I know sometimes now this guy is dating, the girl that you don't like, or whatever the situation is. Long as the kids is safe, long as they safe when they with them, don't keep them from going over there. I know you want to, but don't do it, because it's very detrimental to the kids as well. Those are sometimes you just have to control your own for sure. So what else? I know that and same thing with the other parent, don't, you know, we always had we always communicated back and forth. So, whenever, we had some place to be, like we had joint custody. So, we had a regular schedule, but sometimes the schedule changed. Like, maybe she had to work, or is going on a vacation, or whatever the situation was. And we would just communicate and, definitely go and help out, pick the kids up, early that day or later that day, or let the kids stay an extra week, or whatever the situation was. We was able to work through it and have a good relationship, and always communicate it. Now, we ain't always do everything good. I ain't, I'd be the first to admit I didn't do everything well, as good as I should have. There's probably there's some bills that was left unpaid that I probably should have paid my part in. But for the most part, we communicated well, and we took care of all those things. But I just see, and I'm very grateful for that, because I just see, and even again, even with that, even with great communication, great personalities, getting along, and even with all those, even with doing all these steps the right way, it still had a huge impact on the kids, huge impact on the kids. And so you can imagine if you have a parent that's being manipulative or, trying to get back at somebody, how that is going to, affect the kids, because even doing it the right way is still difficult. And so you definitely have to keep that in mind. So, cheaper to keep her is an understatement, because again, the it's not the financial expense, it's the emotional expense. That's the huge expense, trying to juggle and make sure that the kids and everybody is okay. And even within yourself, it put me in a situation that I thought I wanted to be in. I thought I wanted to be out there and, trying to find somebody else or talk to somebody else and just, doing people wrong, being in bad relationships and or trying to or taking advantage of people. It just, all that stemmed from that separation. If I could have just, kept strong in what I was supposed to do, I wouldn't have been in that situation. And so, yeah, I ended up doing that and being out there in that aspect. And so all these things are an expense from that, an expense. And so, I've learned a lot from there, and I'm definitely appreciate, going through that, because I was able to learn a lot and able to take that information that I've learned and use it in my relationship now. It taught me how to be a better person, how to be a better man, how to be a better father and a better husband, just by, looking back in retrospect at all the stuff that I did wrong, and it just helped a lot. So, it definitely was a bad experience, but however, I was able to take the positive out of it, and even still, we still, me and my ex have a decent relationship. We still communicate. So, I'm grateful for that. So, but yeah, I really appreciate the few people that was tuned in, and if you, leave a message and let me know, if you ever been through it or what your struggle was and how you was able to overcome it. Remember, keeping God center is the focus, keeping God center and not being, because that way it takes the center, it takes you from the center. A lot of problems come is when we want to be at the center. That's our selfishness. We think that the whole world evolves around us, but that's not the case. And so we have to learn how to be a little more sacrificial when it comes to our own personal wants and needs. And, you just got to take one for the team. We always say, we had a thing when we was out hanging out, if it was a bunch of guys and, we wanted to talk to some girls, and, one of the girls was, not so beautiful. We had this saying, just, come on, dog, you got to take one for the team. And so I feel like that's what is important in the family relationship, that you learn how to take one for the team, learn how to, you know, sub- submerge or, put away your own personal wants and needs so that the team benefits. And and obviously you learn how to compromise. You don't have to do it all the time, but you just got to learn how to compromise so that the team can stay together and the team can function strongly. So definitely, divorce and separation has the biggest impact in a person's life. Again, it's worse than death, because with death there is closure. I feel like whenever someone passes away, there's closure. We understand what happened and we understand where they are. But with separation, it's like a wound that just keeps getting ripped on and off, because there's no closure. There's sometimes there's no healing. It just keeps going on and on. And that's dependent on, how you and your ex are communicating and how well y'all work together. You can get past it. If you've been divorced or separated, you can get past it. It's not the end of the world. I know it might be hard going from a family to single parent life. But again, focus on the things you want. Focus on, number one, showing the kids as much love as you can, not spoiling them. You still have to make sure that they, have their responsibilities and they do what they're supposed to do, but show them love for sure. Make sure they get plenty of hugs and kisses and communicate with them, not negatively. Don't say anything negative. As bad as mad as you or upset as you may be at that other parent, don't say anything to the kids about it. Keep it to yourself, or find a friend or somebody you can communicate with. And that's another thing. It has to be a good friend. A lot of times divorce and separation comes from, they say that if you're in a friendship, or you have a bunch of friends that's been divorced or separated, then you're highly likely to go through the same thing. So that just shows you the power of influence, that we have when it comes to, just who we're with, who we're hanging with, who we're talking to. A lot of times we want to run to our best friend and say, girl or man, this girl she's getting on my nerves, man. I can't take it. And your best friend be like, well, why don't you just leave, dog? I got a divorce. Or they don't even have to say nothing. You just know their situation, and you felt like they made it okay. They got a divorce. Their kids is okay. They're doing fine. So it's going to be the same thing for me. A lot of times we teach people indirectly, not directly, indirectly. And I feel like that is a problem. So you got to make sure whenever you are upset or going through something, that you're talking to the right person. You want to have a positive mentor, or somebody that's either been through it, or somebody that know what they're talking about. Not just some emotional person that's going to pick your side, somebody that's going to tell you when you're wrong. Be like, yo, you wrong, dog. A lot of times that's what we missing. That's what we missing. We can be hanging out and, doing all this bad stuff, and our friends are so loyal that they don't even tell us that you're wrong. They don't even be like, yo, man, this is going to mess your family up. Or, you sure you want to do this? There's a lot of problems that's going to come from you doing this. A lot of times it doesn't happen. We're just constantly feeding in, you know, giving them, just because they are boy or they are our girlfriends, we just give them what they want. Like, come on, girl, you just need to go hang out, meet somebody, or you need to hang out at the club. And, when the true response is, you need to be out there, you need to be at home working it out, communicating with your husband, or talking to him, or, going to counseling. You need to talk to somebody. You can get that positive influence instead of the negative influence. Like, girl, you can drop them. I dropped mine. And so that has a huge impact too, as well. But again, we loyal. We stick with our friends, and no matter how detrimental it can be to our relationship, we just stick it out. We still we keep hanging with the same people. We refuse to get help from other people. We know people that's been married for 50, 40 years, and, we have bypassed them. Nope. I want to get some advice from my girl who been divorced 3 or 4 times, or I want to get some advice from my friend who's been cheating on all his wives, or, all these things. And it's like, what are we doing to ourselves? Do we really, really, truly deep down inside want our relationships to work? Huh? Do we really want our kids to have the stability, or is it just, what's going to make me happy today? That's what it's about. What's going to make me happy today? What's going to make me happy right now? And so a relationship is not about your happiness. Now, I say that lightly because obviously we have to be happy. Happiness comes from the inside, first of all. It's not on the outside. It's come from the inside. Happy people are generally happy no matter what's going on. And so happiness starts on the inside. Now, when it comes to relationship wise, it's not built or centered around your happiness. That's what I mean. It's not centered around your happiness. It should be centered around the family and the purpose or the direct or the plans that you have for your family. So a lot of times people don't have, plans or purpose for their relationships or their marriage. And, again, when you don't have that, then you don't have no discipline. If you don't have a vision of where you want to go or where you want to take your family, then where's your discipline at? You're not going to have that discipline. I feel like we just get in relationships and because it feel good, let's just get married. No, you should have a purpose and a plan and a vision. You should have one as an individual first. If you have one as an individual first, then that'll help you choose the right person because everybody don't fit inside your vision or your plan. And if they don't fit inside your vision or plan, then it's going to be some problems. It's going to be some problems. And so that's very important that we realize that having your own vision and plan for yourself is important, the first and foremost. So again, we talked about, some of the effects that it have. Of course, I didn't want to go through all the, we talked about some of the effects that it have on the kids, and of course on individuals as well, like men, they have trust issues, adults, they have trust issues when they go through a divorce, confidence issues. They might not feel like they can make the next relationship work. Like they feel hopeless. Like, what if this person wants to leave too? Or, am I really going to be, a good, can I really be that person that they want me to be or that I need to be? Can I be that, in the relationship? Can I get a, you know, can I reconnect or have that strong relationship with my kids that I once had before? All these things have an impact in an adult's life just from, going through this separation, and so, and again, poverty wise, am I going to be able to keep the same house? How do I, get a car? You might have to, one person might have a car and the other person don't have a car. The income where you once had two and now it's only one. Or, what if one wasn't even working and now they got to go out and get a job? So there's just a lot of things that happen that need to, be considered when it comes to, the cost of divorce. I call it the cost of divorce, because it definitely is cheaper to keep her, but not just, again, financially. We're talking about emotionally. We're talking about spiritually. It's definitely cheaper to keep her. So, you know, again, you've been tuned in to Impact Podcast. It's your boy, Coach A. I appreciate everybody for, tuning in and leaving some messages. Again, if you get this on the video, you know, rewind it, look at it again, leave a message, leave a comment. You can always get in touch with me through my Facebook, Adrian Mays /impact. You can look me up on YouTube. I'm also on YouTube Impact as well. And so the whole purpose of this podcast is just to teach a little bit, to coach a little bit, to help people, encourage them to get through some of these situations. It always takes a positive mentality or positive mindset. And a lot of times you got to have positive people you can go to. And so if you don't have anybody else you can go to that's going to be positive, then you definitely can and reach out to me. I'll be putting more videos up, trying to help deal with all these issues and stuff that we be having and use some of my own personal experiences. My pain, your gain, some of the issues or things that I've been through, I can tell you about it so that to prevent you from getting your shoes dirty. I feel like a lot of times things that I've been through was for a reason. And that reason is to make sure that the next man shoes stay cleaner than mine was so that he don't have to deal with those same things. But it's all depending on the individual and how much they take heed. So we're almost at the hour mark. So I got about a minute left. So, again, shout out to my chef Jimbo, for chiming in. Shout out to my baby, my daughter Bevan Hooper. She said I did. She said, "You, hi, Dad. You did great." Thank you. I be nervous sometimes, but it's all right. I just get to talking. So also make sure you check me out on the at the barbecue family talk Saturday mornings at 9:00. We talk about many different topics. It's me and the group of my brothers. We all together just chatting, talking about events, current events, or what's going on. Sometimes we talk about sports. I think we'll be talking about sports, the NBA. This Saturday morning, but you can always catch us there. Last time we had some great episodes about mental health, about men and mental health, women and mental health, and all these different things. So make sure you can reach us. I mean, you can check us out at the Family Talk podcast Saturday mornings at 9:00. All right. So again, peace and love to you. Make sure you guys all have an impact. So stay focused. Again, I want to tell you, make sure you find a way, if nothing else, find a way to bring your life back to peace and harmony. That's the most important thing you can do through prayer and meditation. Make sure you continue to do that. All right. Peace. I'm out.